Good, boss of YouTube, what's up? How's it going, everybody? 6foot Hacks here, bringing you guys the draft analysis video of the Durham Druddigons in NPA Season 3. So if you guys are excited for us to be in a third draft league and hopefully win a championship, make sure to show off your support. Hit that thumbs up button down below, and please let me know in the comment section below what you guys think about our draft in general. So for those of you who may have missed it, yesterday on Saturday, Dan aka A-Drive did a live draft recap of everybody's drafts and stuff. So the few of you who might have been there already know what our draft is, but for those of you who don't know what it is, that's what this video is for. I will be recapping everything, and I'm not sure if there's going to be like a black screen for right now, but don't worry, all the mons will pop up and we'll have bunch of graphics and stuff, the graphics that we're using in the draft stream. But regardless, I hope you guys are excited for this, and I know I am very excited for this. So I know some of you guys may be thinking, oh well, Leo, you already are uploading on Saturday and Sunday for draft leagues. NPA will also be uploaded on Saturday, so on Saturday you guys will be getting PGBL Wi-Fi league battles as well as NPA Wi-Fi league battles, which means on Friday we will have double team builders, but I will try to squeeze in there either a Wi-Fi battle or a showdown live for you guys to kind of watch, for those of you who do enjoy just regular Wi-Fi battles or just showdown lives in general. And then Sundays are APA upload days, so on Saturday y'all are gonna get 2 league matches along with a team builder for APA, hopefully. So yeah, that's kind of going to be the plan for the next upcoming week. So I hope you guys don't mind that. Hope y'all do enjoy it. And with that being said, we can go ahead and just get right into this. So of course you guys know me, Bad Luck Leo is not just something I like to call myself for fun. It is definitely something that has been proven a very long time now. And I got very unlucky with drafting. Anytime that I ever show a draft analysis video, just assume that I'm gonna get the shorter end of the stick, because I don't think I've ever been above like top 7, and I was only number 7 in GBA D League because there was 10 people. I was either like number 7 or number 8. So yeah, that's the closest I've ever been to being at like getting a 1 round pick. So at number 19, of course, everything amazing that I wanted to try was gone. Both of the Mega Latioses were gone, which I don't think Mega Latios in general should be allowed. Mega Latios, arguably. I couldn't get something like Tapu Koko, Landorus, what else? Celesteela, and anything really good like that. Even arguably Mega Mawile, potentially. Which Mega Mawile actually did go round 1, which is very interesting. I don't personally think Mega Mawile is that good, but it's a very scary amount to try and switch into. So yeah, got a little bit unlucky and got number 19 out of 24 teams, which 24 teams in general is absolutely insane, but hey, it is what it is. And at number 19, I decided to choose potentially one of the best Mega Pokemon currently in the Ultra Sun and Moon metagame, and that is going to be, woo, Ric Flair, the Mega Gallade. And I am actually really excited to use Mega Gallade. I've been wanting to use this for a very long time, and I originally would have drafted it in GBA D League a few months back, but my game plans kind of changed because of what my initial first draft was, which was Kieran Black, but obviously that was gone at this point. So yeah, Mega Gallade I think is a very good round 1 pick. Arguably I might have been able to pick Zygarde, but I already have Zygarde in PGBL and I didn't want to try and use the same mons over and over. But Mega Gallade is absolutely phenomenal. It has so many different moves, guys. It has phenomenal type coverage. It gets all the elemental punches. It gets knockoff, Leaf Blade, Poison Jab, Psycho Cut, Zen Headbutt. It gets so many good support moves as well. In Memento, I believe it gets Taunt as well, Thunder Wave, Will-O-Wisp. It gets Priority and Shadow Sneak as well. bulk up in Swords Dance, which is absolutely amazing. Dual Screens could even potentially come. It gets Rock Slide as well, which is awesome. X Scissor, which is pretty cool. Maybe Aerial Ace could come in handy in certain matchups, but for the most part, with a base 165 physical attack stat at +1 or +2, this thing is absolutely nuking everything. And with a base 110 speed, it outspeeds a plethora of Pokemon, as well. So there's only a handful of Pokemon that are faster than Mega Gallade, unless they are Choice Scarfed, obviously. And then it has phenomenal bulk with base 95 physical defense, base 115 special defense, and then a solid base 68 HP set. Also, it gets access to Wish, which could be pretty awesome to potentially use. So I'm very excited to use Mega Gallade in NPA Season 3. I've seen this thing just put in so much work by so many good Draft League players. Matty Brawlick is definitely one that comes to mind. He's definitely used Mega Gallade and has made it shine and put in a lot of work. So I'm really excited to have Mega Gallade on the squad. And next off, we have our round 2 pick, which is going to be one Pokemon that honestly I'm really not a big fan of this Pokemon, but the thing about it is that in a 24 team draft format, your opponent has less checks and answers to certain physically or especially offensive threats, just offensive threats in general. Your opponent has less answers to them, and this is a Pokemon that I really think in a 24 team draft format can absolutely shine, especially with the fact that there is no Z move rule. You can literally have any one of your Pokemon be Z moves. Obviously Omni Boost are banned, but offensive Z moves and just like status C moves in general are still available. So with our round 2 pick, we have the Rainmaker Okada, aka Manaphy. Shouts out if you guys do get the nickname for Manaphy there. And as I mentioned, Manaphy is honestly a Pokemon that I'm not a giant fan of, but in a 24 team format, there is plenty of less answers to be able to deal with this mon. Of course, it is one of the Pixie Pokemon, if I'm not mistaken, or one of the Sprite Pokemon I think they're referred to, but it's got a base 100 stats across the board, has access to, of course, Tail Glow and Calm Mind, which can make prepping absolutely a nightmare for our opponent, because if they think we're going to bring an offensive Tail Glow set and then they face a defensive Calm Mind set, they don't have any answer for it, or vice versa. Also, because of Z moves, we can run a Z Rain Dance set of Manaphy, so we can gain that +1 speed and then Tail Glow or Calm Mind. And then at that point, it's basically good game because Manaphy just puts in so much work. It also gets access to U-Turn, which can definitely come in handy in certain matchups. Being able to gain us momentum, has a phenomenal special move pool with Surf, Scald, Hydro Pump, Grass Knot, Dazzling Gleam, Psychic. What else? Energy Ball, Grass Knot, of course the hidden powers, Shadow Ball, Signal Beam, Z Hyper Beam even. I think I said Psychic, but if I didn't say Psychic, it gets access to Psychic as well. Ice Beam, Blizzard even. Ancient Power could potentially come in handy in certain matchups as well. Although I don't think its physical move pool is that great. Typically you don't ever see physical Manaphy. Actually, it gets Bounce. So maybe like a Z bounce set could be pretty cool. I don't think it gets access to Swords Dance. Ooh, it gets Knockoff. Hold up, Knockoff. We may bring that sometime. I didn't even realize, man, if he got Knockoff until now. Like, I looked up all the moves, but I mainly focused on the special type moves. A Liquidation even could potentially come in handy. But for the most part, Manaphy is a really nice, just kind of like bulky, very offensive, scary threat that my opponents have to prepare for. And depending on if I bring like Z Rain Dance or like any type of offensive Z move in general with Tail Glow or Calm Mind, then they could be in a very bad spot. Also, Manaphy can run a defensive set with Rain Dance and Rest thanks to Hydration. Hydration does cure us of any type of status, so that is very, very awesome. So yeah, I am hoping that Manaphy puts in a lot of work in this type of format along with Mega Gallade. This is going to make prepping for my opponents very, very hard, because Manaphy and Gallade can kind of break for each other, and then the other one can take advantage of that. So moving on to round number 3, the fact that this Pokemon did not go drafted until round 3 is an absolute travesty. This Pokemon I've seen go very late round 1 or very early round 2, and the fact that it came back to me and was still around at round 3, there was no way I could pass this up. We have the Destroyer, the Samoan submission machine, Samoa Joe, aka Mamoswine. There ain't no thick around here. Get that nonsense out of here, because we got the Destroyer, Samoa Joe, and Mamoswine with ice and ground type coverage. This thing absolutely destroys so many type of teams, and along with Manaphy and Gallade in the back, this is a very terrifying trio, a very terrifying triple offensive core that my opponents have to watch out for. This also gives us our second form of priority because of Ice Shard, and our first form of entry hazards with Stealth Rocks, which is absolutely amazing. And Mamoswine is one of those Pokemon that can very easily force a lot of switch outs and take advantage of that by going for Stealth Rocks. Not to mention that it also has access to some pretty good coverage moves and knockoff, Superpower, Stone Edge, Rock Slide, even Rock Tomb. Potentially Endeavor could come in handy, maybe even Return. Icicle Spear, of course, is very, very handy as well. Freeze Dry could even come into play in certain matchups. A knockoff, if I didn't mention that, Iron Head. Also, one set that I actually did run in a previous draft league was Dual Screens Mamoswine. So who knows, maybe Dual Screens Mamoswine will come to a couple of our matchups in the NPA. Regardless though, I'm super excited to have Mamoswine once again, and Samoa Joe is about to just destroy so many teams, hopefully. Also, it does give us a pretty nice speed tier in base 80, since we have base 100 in Manaphy and base 110 in our Mega Gallade, so that can definitely come into play in certain matchups. So moving on to round number 4, we have a Pokemon that honestly in a regular draft I would never ever in my life pick up this early, but the thing about it is that at this point in the draft, so many fairy types had been drafted already, and I figured that I need to try and get this fairy this round, or else it may not come back to me, because there was really no other fairy type that I realistically wanted at this point in the draft. So I decided to go with a Mon that I drafted back in Pokemon for Glory, but I did unfortunately drop, I believe, after week 2. And in Ultra Sun and Moon, it did get a little bit of a buff, and that is going to be Sugar Puff the Slurpuff. You see that little rhyme game right there? Yeah, I know you do. So we have Slurpuff on our squad. Of course, it does get access to Sticky Webs now in Ultra Sun and Moon, and with Mamoswine, Manaphy, and Mega Gallade being able to abuse Sticky Webs, this is about to be an absolute nightmare for our opponents to prep for. Not to mention that if our opponents think that, oh hey, they're gonna bring Sticky Webs, but then we end up bringing like Belly Drum or Calm Mind, Cotton Guard, Slurpuff with Unburden, that can literally just sweep a late game. Belly Drum Slurpuff in general is an absolute terror to prepare for. Also, Slurpuff has access to Wish and Aromatherapy, which is nice support moves to our team. Along with the Sticky Webs, of course, it gets access to Endeavor, which can definitely come in handy. Magico could also be really, really handy. Unfortunately, it only learns Light Screen as opposed to Light Screen and Reflect, but it does get Toxic, which is really nice. It also has a really good special move pool with like Flamethrower, Thunderbolt, Energy Ball, and Surf. So a Calm Mind Unburdened set can be very potent in certain matchups, especially if we go like Calm Mind, Energy Ball, and then we have those 2 offensive moves to deal damage. So I'm really hoping that a Slurpuff shines in this type of team. So yeah, moving on to our round 4 pick. I did unfortunately get sniped of my original Pokemon that I wanted in round 4, but luckily I did have a backup. And again, I'm not very well versed in 24 teams. Like 24 teams draft is the biggest type of draft that I've ever been in. So the fact that I got sniped as many times as I did should realistically not be that surprising to me. But at round 4, I decided to go ahead and pick up my grass type because much like our fairy type, grass types at this point were getting a little bit scarce, and I realistically did not want a tier 5 grass type. So I decided to go with my trusty lawnmower in the form of Mojado, aka Rotommo, and I'm actually pretty excited to have Rotommo on the squad. I don't think I've used Rotommo in a very long time, and the good thing about Rotommo is that it does fulfill a couple roles here. It gives us our second Mon in our Fire, Water, Grass core. It gives us another form of momentum because of Volt Switch. It gives us hazard removal and defog as well, which is really good. It gives us a solid, especially offensive hitting Mon because of Leaf Storm and Thunderbolt. Of course, we do have access to any type of Z move, so from the specially offensive spectrum, we have things like Twinkle Tackle, Never Ending Nightmare, what's it called? Breakneck Blitz, Gigavolt Havoc, Bloom Doom, even potentially Savage Spin Out as well. Also, thanks to the fact that we do have Pain Split, this gives us a little bit of recovery as well. Rotom is really nice because Mamoswine and Gallade, as well as even Manaphy, love to be able to get that free switch in off of momentum, so we can hopefully try and help out our 3 offensive Mons in the form of Mamoswine, Manaphy, and Gallade with our Rotommo here. Because of Z moves, we can use something like offensive Z moves, obviously. Sorry, I did already went over. I don't want to really spoil the non-offensive Z moves that we could potentially run, but there is so much potential for Rotommo to just be able to put in a lot of work with our squad. So moving on to round number 6. At this point, I was really stuck between either this Pokemon or a secondary Pokemon. And part of me really wishes that I had got the secondary Pokemon instead of this Pokemon, but even then, this next pick is absolutely amazing because Rock type stab, or just Rock type coverage in general, is very difficult to try and switch into. Like if your opponent doesn't have a very bulky ground or a very bulky steel type, then Rock type stab can just come in and absolutely wreck through teams. And for our round 6 pick, I decided to go with Bice Baby, aka Tyrantrum. And Tyrantrum is a very interesting Pokemon because it's a Mon that I've never really thought about using in the past, but it's definitely a Pokemon that can be absolutely dreadful to deal with because with a base 121 physical attack coming off of Rock Head with Head Smash, this thing absolutely murders so many teams. And then we could also go Strong Jaw potentially with all the elemental fangs, which is absolutely amazing. Even Crunch can be great, Outrage, Dragon Claw. It gets access to Stealth Rock, so this gives us our second Stealth Rocker as well, which can be very handy. Iron Head potentially. He gets access to Rock Polish, so if your opponent expects a Dragon Dance variant of Tyrantrum, you bring Rock Polish, they absolutely get destroyed. Superpower, this thing has access to so many good Z moves because of the fact that it gets all the elemental fangs. Earthquake, Superpower as well, Head Smash, and even Outrage being stabbed, Zen Headbutt, Aerial Ace potentially, I doubt it, but there's so many different offensive things that Tyrantrum can realistically do, and with a base 71 speed, it also does kind of help out our speed tiers. It is kind of in the same range of Slurpuff, but my opponents still have to prepare for this regardless. So moving on to pick number 7. At this point, I started to notice that there was no steel types. All the steel types that I wanted unfortunately got sniped from me. Cobalion was gone, Klefki I think was gone, Bronzong was gone, and Metagross was gone. Metagross was the main steel type I actually really wanted, but that got sniped from me in the same round, or I think a round earlier if I'm not mistaken. So I decided to go ahead and dip into tier 5 for a steel type, and probably one of the most valuable tier 5s that not only can get up rocks, is also a steel type and fulfill that ground type role that you may need, is going to be Wanderer, aka Steelix. Shouts out if you guys get the nickname Wanderer, because that's a reference to one of my very old YouTube friends. We don't talk anymore, but we used to talk a bunch back in the day. Either way though, we do have Steelix on our squad, and while this is not really the steel type I wanted, it still just fulfills so many different roles that I needed to fulfill for our squad. Of course, the steel type role for our Fairy Steel Dragon Core with Tyrantrum and Slurpuff. Yeah, 2 of them are weak to fighting, but it's fine. We get a 3rd Stealth Rocker because of Steelix, which is really good. We get a Phaser because of Roar. Maybe even like Sheer Force Rock Polish could potentially come to certain matchups. I'm not really too sure. But for the most part, Steelix is just a very bulky steel type. This thing can deal with so many normal types and electric types as well because of its great natural bulk. Like base 75 HP with base 65 SPDEF is very good in my opinion, because you can really just invest into those 2 stats and then you still have that monstrous physical defense, and then it's got a very solid base 85 physical attack stat. Much like Tyrantrum, I do believe Steelix gets access to all of the elemental fangs. Yeah, Ice Fang, Fire Fang, and Thunder Fang if I'm not mistaken. Actually, does it get Thunder Fang? Yes, it does get Thunder Fang, so that could be really cool. Also, those Fang moves are boosted by Sheer Force, so hey, who knows? Maybe Rock Polish Steelix could come to some matchups or 2. I don't know, but we will have to see. But for the most part, Steelix is just a very good bulky mon in general, so I'm really happy to have it on the draft, and I hope that it does put in a lot of work. So moving on to round number 8. At this point, I wanted to go ahead and fill out my 2nd core in my Fire, Water, Grass core, and unfortunately, due to how things were being picked and to what everybody else could have potentially picked, I realized that it may be in my best interest to try and get another tier 1 or tier 2 Pokemon, but there was not really any good fire types in tier 1 or tier 2 that I realistically wanted. So out of tier 5, I decided to pick something that I personally think with unlimited Z moves can be an absolute monster, and that is going to be Why You Always, aka the Pyroar, because it's a lion. Get it? Get it? That wasn't my nickname suggestion, but it's just, I just thought it was funny. I'm sorry. I just really thought it was funny. So I personally think, and I personally hope, that Pyro puts in so much work, because it's definitely one of those Pokemon that you look at it and you think, okay, well, it's not really gonna be doing too much work, but then you introduce it to Z moves, and it's got Z Hyper Beam, Z Fire Blast, Z Dark Pulse. On the physical side, you could go Z Wild Charge. I think it even gets Solar Beam as well. Does it? Hold on. Does it get Solar Beam? I may be lying here. I may be lying. Hold on. Yeah, it gets Solar Beam, so you could go like Bloom Doom for those grass types, it gets access to Flame Charge. Something like Flame Charge Z-move Pyroar can easily just destroy teams as well. It gets access to things like Pursuit, Endeavor. It gets Taunt, if I'm not mistaken, which is actually really awesome in my opinion. Of course, Toxic and Will-O-Wisp are great support moves. Maybe Bounce could help against some things. I don't really know. Even Fire Spin could help to deal with... Oh, I am so sorry. Even Fire Spin could help to deal with certain Pokemon as well. So I honestly have so much faith in a Pyroar, and I really hope it puts in a lot of work as a fire type, because it's got base 109 special attack stat, an amazing 106 speed stat, which outspeeds base 100s and base 105s, which can definitely come in handy in certain matchups. So I have a lot of hope for Pyroar on this team, and I hope that I can use it correctly. So moving on to our next round pick. At this point, I realize I have a gigantic, humongous fighting type weakness, so I needed to settle on getting either a combination of a poison type, a psychic type, or a flying type, potentially a ghost type. At least 2 of those 4 types is what I wanted to try and get for my next 2 picks, because again, at this point I was very settled on either getting another tier 1 Pokemon or potentially another tier 2 Pokemon. So I decided to go with one of my personal favorite Pokemon in Draft League format, a Pokemon that can honestly just be overlooked by a lot of teams, and that is going to be Mierda, aka Garrotar. And I am a huge fan of Garrotar in Draft League format, and much like Pyroar, in a format where you have unlimited Z moves for any Pokemon that you have, Garrotar can definitely take advantage of those Z moves because it gets access to Rock Polish. So in some matchups, offensive Rock Polish Garrotar could potentially just put in so much work. It gets access to Drain Punch, Seed Bomb, Return, of course, Gunk Shot. It gets so many good physically offensive coverage moves with Rock Blast as well. We could even use something like Seed Bomb potentially. I think I mentioned that actually. I'm not really too sure. Explosion could definitely come into mind. It gets access to Haze and Clear Smog for setup Pokemon. Aftermath absolutely punishes any type of physically offensive mon that wants to make contact with this. Not to mention that this gives us access to spikes and toxic spikes. Pyroar, Tyrantrum, Rotommo, Belly Drum Slurpuff, Mamoswine, Manaphy, and Mega Gallade all absolutely love being able to be supported by spikes and or toxic spikes, along with our 3 stealth rockers in Steelix, Tyrantrum, and Mamoswine as well. So I definitely felt that Garrotar on this squad was an absolutely perfect fit. I think originally I wanted Qwilfish because with Qwilfish we had access to Intimidate, but if we did get Qwilfish, we would have had that extra electric type weakness. So with Garrotar, we have less weaknesses and we have potentially a better Z move mon, thanks to it being able to take advantage of its base 95 physical attack stat and Rock Polish, and just absolutely destroy teams. So moving on to round number 10, we have a Pokemon that I never in my life, never, ever, and I'm not even lying about this, I don't think I've ever seen this Pokemon drafted, ever. So this was really not a Pokemon I wanted, but the 2 Pokemon I wanted to fill this slot unfortunately got sniped for me literally the round that I was gonna pick. So I originally wanted to go with Musharna, and that got picked. And then I wanted to go with Dusknoir, but then that got picked. And then I was kind of in a really bad spot to pick a tier 5 either psychic type or ghost type that could have at least some type of bulk to help me patch up my fighting type weakness. So I decided to go with Hypno here. And like, if you look at my draft in general, I really feel like Hypno is kind of like the sore thumb. It's just kind of like sticking out there. It's just like, hey guys, I'm a Hypno. And again, I don't think I've ever seen Hypno be drafted before, none that I can remember. But the great thing about Hypno is that with Z moves, it can really be a scary offensive threat. It gets access to a lot of cool moves. Wish, of course, Baton Pass, even Trick Room, potentially Belly Drum could be something that we may want to try and bring in the future. Get some nice coverage moves with Grass Knot, Foul Play, Shadow Ball, Signal Beam, Switcheroo, and Trick could also potentially come in handy in certain matchups. I think it gets access to Recycle, so if my opponents don't have a good, or they just don't have a dark type in general, maybe something like Recycle, Hypno could very well come in handy. But it does have very good bulk. It's got base 85 HP, base 70 defense, and a really good base 115 SPDEF stats. So Hypno does kind of fulfill that role that I need to fulfill. It's a very bulky-ish psychic type. It does kind of support our team with Wish, so that can definitely come in handy. And I'm kind of hoping Hypno puts in some work. Like, being able to have access to Baton Pass for some momentum is also super nice as well. So yeah, we will see how Hypno does. I'm hoping that it doesn't fall flat and that it can definitely put in some work. So at this point, you guys have seen 10 of our 11 Mons, and as I mentioned, I was either going to get a tier 1 or a tier 2 Pokemon, and at this point I don't have a dark type. The main dark type that I really wanted was Zoroark, and unfortunately I chose to go Tyrantrum over Zoroark the round that I got Tyrantrum. So Zoroark got sniped for me. There was not really any good lower tier dark types that I wanted at this point, and it kind of baffled me that this Pokemon was not even considered upon anybody else, and that it really lasted until round 11. And much like Manaphy, it's a Pokemon that I personally do not think is that great, but I have seen it been able to put in a lot of work. And it's a Pokemon that you guys who watch my APA videos will know, and that is going to be the Shield, aka Hydragon. So Hydragon is a Pokemon that I have never seen go past round 4 or 5, honestly. Like, Hydragon is a very solid round 2 or round 3 pick in my opinion, and with unlimited Z moves, this thing can easily take advantage of those Z moves. This also gives us our 4th form of momentum because Hydragon gets access to U-turn, not to mention that it has so many phenomenal type coverage moves with Dark Pulse, Aqua Tail, Superpower, Earth Power, Earthquake, Fire Blast, Flamethrower, Flash Cannon, Focus Blast, Ice Fang, even Rock Slide, Signal Beam, Surf, if I didn't mention it, Tri Attack could come in handy, Zen Headbutt, it gets Thunder Wave, which can be pretty awesome. This gives us our 2nd form of hazard removal because it gets access to Defog as well. Hydragon is one of those Pokemon that can really just be a nightmare to prepare for, and I think between Hydragon, Mega Gallade, Manaphy, and Mamoswine, my opponents are going to have such a difficult time trying to properly prepare for our draft, because if they don't cover one of our main 4 offensive threats, something else can come in and take advantage of that weakness. Or if they do cover something else, then our 4 offensive threats can come in and take care of that hole. Hydragon makes a phenomenal Choice Scarf mon, great Life Orb Pokemon as well. Specs Hydragon is also just an absolute nuke because of its phenomenal type coverage. Oh, it gets access to Flash Cannon and Belch. We can go Z Belch, Z Flash Cannon. What is a fairy type to a Hydragon when it gets hit by a Z Belch or a Z Flash Cannon? I don't know. You guys let me know. But yeah, that is going to be our draft for the NPA Season 3. Now, one huge thing I want to point out about our draft is that this is not a typical draft that I am used to. Now, yes, I did draft what I drafted, but that is because I couldn't really adapt to what I mainly like to draft. For those of you who have seen my previous draft recap videos, minus APA because I didn't draft an APA, but anything before that, then you guys will see that I like to draft a more bulky offensive style of drafts. This draft is very offensive. Our only real walls are Steelix, Garrotar, and Hypno. Arguably, Manaphy can be a wall, and same goes for Rotommo, but for the most part, they are offensive mons in their own right. So with this being a very offensive type draft, I need to not build how I normally build. So if it may take me a match or two to kind of like adapt to this more offensive, aggressive type of build, please be understanding of that. Regardless though, I am so happy to have this draft. I think out of 24 teams, being able to get this type of draft is absolutely amazing. Yeah, we may not have many switch-ins to certain offensive mons, but if I can just play offensively, keep up momentum, my opponents will get easily overwhelmed. And if they don't prep for something that I bring that's offensive, then that mon will be able to take advantage of them. And all in all, really hope you guys do like our draft for the NPA Season 3, and hopefully we can win another championship. So with that being said, if you guys did enjoy, make sure to hit that thumbs up button down below and answer. No, there's no comment question of that. Let me know what you guys think about our draft in the comment section below. So week 1 will be uploaded next Saturday. For those of you who are wondering, I believe that is going to be February the 10th. So yeah, make sure to tune in to the week 1 battle. So with that being said, I will see you all then, and later, everybody.
No matter where you're at, I'm not here to make friends, it's time to attack and deplete your HP with a final smash. Don't make me turn around and pull a 6-foot hacks. 6 foot hacks. Yeah. 6 foot hacks. Yeah. 6 foot hacks.